I was wondering if you could speak a little bit towards that about where people might be starting their journeys and how important is that consistent shifting of mindset, or how did mindset play a role there?
Mindset is everything. So I'll tell a quick story to explain this. One of the biggest comedians in the world is a guy named Dave Chappelle. And Dave Chappelle, he told this story of how, like, when he started out as a comedian, his biggest fear in life was bombing. He was like, I didn't want to take the stage and get booed and people like throw stuff at me and all of it. And he said, and one night I was doing a comedy show in DC and I bombed. I think he was 16 when it happened. It was awful. And he said, I remember being backstage and looking at myself thinking, so the thing I feared most in life has happened and I'm okay. Like, I'm still alive. I'm a whole human. And all I have to do right now is decide to get back up on the stage. And I think about that in terms of just life. Because, like, my mindset is I am unbreakable. And I don't say that from, like, an arrogant place, like, I can do anything, because clearly limitations on what is possible. But I do feel like I can get back up if I simply decide to get back up. Like, I can literally just tell myself I can get back up. And that makes a human being unbreakable. And if you think about the things you do when you believe you are unbreakable, it changes everything. Like, it changes everything, because you just have to literally just decide, I'm just gonna get back up and do it again. But every time you do it again, you do it with knowledge you didn't have the previous time. So you can't help but grow if you simply decide, I'm just going to get back up. And I think that that mentality is so important, because what we know is life is going to knock you down. Like, it's just going to do it. Like, Jeff loves to ski. I've never skied in my life. And if Jeff said, Ellie, come join me skiing, he would have to let me know I'm going to fall. That is just the reality of the activity of skiing. At some point, I'm going to fall in a big, cold, wet snow pile. And I have to just decide I'm going to get up and keep skiing. And when you make that decision, you become literally unstoppable. You can literally learn anything. You can't help but grow, because every time I fall, I get up with a little bit more information that makes me better at whatever activity, in this case, skiing. And I think life is that way. Like, somehow we have built in our brains that life is supposed to be great and smooth. But that's not true. That's not true. The longer you live, the more punches you're going to have to take. So what if you just told yourself, every time I get knocked down, I'm just going to stand back up. I'm literally just going to get back up. Every time I ask somebody on a date and they say no, I'm just going to do it again. Or every time I try to cook that meal and I burn it, I'm just going to do it again. Or every time I try to accomplish some task, I'm just going to do it again. Or every time in Jeff's world, the biggest mistake I see people making in Jeff's world is they don't want to launch until things are ideal. That ends up causing a bit of psychosis. But you should be so excited about making mistakes, because that means you're going to fall and you get back up with knowledge you didn't have. Like, I do massive launches now, and I have major celebrities that are paying attention to what I do, that are paying attention to, like, they want to be involved in what I'm doing. They want to share what I'm doing. They want to literally sign contracts to produce what I'm doing. But my first, like, launch was like 3 sales. And imagine if I was like, oh, I just fell and it hurt so bad, I'm never going to do this again, then I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in now. I think people need to just accept you're going to fall. But that's part of the beauty of it. You're going to struggle. You just have to decide to get back up and do the activity again. And then that first launch that was like 3 sales, the next time you do it, there's like 9. And then when you get back up again, then there's like 22. And before you know it, I'm getting phone calls from people that I'm like, why are you calling me? And it's because they saw my content, right? If you just decide, I'm just not going to stop, you literally can't fail. You eventually get to wherever it is you're going. That's the mindset that people have to have. Like, once I decide I'm going to do something, I'm just not going to stop. Like, that's it. I'm just not going to stop. And that means I'm going to get up every time I fall. That means I'm going to have a mindset of abundance and share what I'm learning, but I'm just not going to stop. And eventually you get there. That's the mentality that people have to adopt. And unfortunately, I think people are like, I want to have everything. Sometimes I talk to people and they're like, I'm working on a launch. And I'm like, oh, cool. When are you going to launch? And they're like, next August. And I'm like, next August? You can't make life perfect like that. You should launch tomorrow so you can break everything and then, like, retool it. Between now and next August, I will probably launch 50 times. I will literally probably open 50 carts between now and next August. and I'm going to learn something all the time. So I'm going to be 50 times more educated. To me, that's just a mindset thing. That's literally a choice.
Elliott, what you're speaking to, it's something I've been on for like the last 8 months is exactly what you're speaking to is just reps, getting in repetitions. Here's a bit of a tangent. You talked about skiing, something I'm passionate about, something I've gotten fairly good at. Another thing I've really, really enjoyed was surfing. Just done a little bit of that and was not very successful at all because it's really hard. I think the athletic piece of surfing is no harder than skiing from what I can tell. But when you're surfing, you have to sit out there. You might sit out there waiting for a wave for like 90 minutes and get 1 or 2 shots. So you get 1 or 2 reps. But skiing, you take that lift up, you are automatically going to get reps because you're going down to the bottom. It's easier to get reps, in my opinion. I could be completely off on this, but in skiing than in surfing. So even though I think they're similar capabilities, skiing's so much easier to learn, in my opinion, because it's hard to get the reps in surfing. So I know for you in our world, in my world, you have launched a bunch. You've put together all kinds of offers. You've gotten very, very good at it. But I also know you have quite a background in athletics. Like, where was your first success? Where did you first start to understand that failing is just the step on the way to success, and it gives you more information you can learn from it?
So I read a book when I was in high school. I'm a ferocious reader. In fact, I would say I'm a ferocious consumer of information. I'm very observant. I read a lot. I watch a lot of things. And there was a coach of the UCLA basketball team, the UCLA Bruins, John Wooden. And John Wooden wrote a book about what he called the pyramid of success. And in that book, I remember 2 things to this day that stood out to me. In that book, the first thing he said was, the only variable on the path to success that you have complete and total control over is work ethic. And I experienced that as really good news because that meant I could outwork my competition from an athletic standpoint. That meant if I outworked my competition, then I'm in a better situation and capable of winning. The other thing he said, so John Wooden won 10 national championships, which is the pinnacle of college basketball, in 12 years. But he said, it took me 17 years to win the first one. And he said, I'm a slow learner, but once I get it, I've got it. And I remember thinking, 13 years old, 14 years old, whatever age I was reading that book, I remember thinking, mastery can take time. So for me, the first bit of success for me was realizing, A, I can outwork people, and B, mastery takes time. And that gives me permission to just put in the work and put in the effort without the expectation that I'm supposed to get anything quickly. Because if the greatest basketball coach of all time described himself as a slow learner, but once I get it, I got it, then it made me realize that mastery takes time. So anything that I'm going to do, like in Jeff's case, surfing, if I just start doing that tomorrow, I'm not going to be a master of it, which means I have to accept failure. And go back to mindset, falling and failing is actually totally irrelevant, because if I can shift my mindset to focus on the clues that I was getting better, then that matters. Then that's actually more important. So for example, if Jeff says, Elliott, let's go skiing, which Jeff, I hope one day we do. Never skied before and it would be cool to ski with you. And if I got on the skis for the very first time, let's say Jeff and I go skiing on a 3-day trip. And on day 1, minute 1, I put on the skis and I go down the hill 30 seconds and then boom, I fall. And then on day 2, minute 1, if I can go down the hill for 3 minutes and I fall, some people focus on the fall, but I lasted 3 minutes this time. And if you can shift your brain to signs of progress, then you win more. And to me, that started happening once I read that book.
Who are you comparing yourself to in your journey kind of matters, right? And are you comparing yourself to, the people who have been doing it for, say, 20, 25 years and have got to this other place? And then you look at your first attempt at, say, skiing or anything else, launching, and it is so far beyond where other people have got themselves to. It can be easy to have that conversation with ourselves that man, why am I even bothering? I'm never going to get there, or I can't make that mental leap to get to that place where I'm doing, runs on a black diamond ski, on a ski run, right? Because I'm still on the bunny hill, I'm still dealing with this bunny hill right now. And are you comparing yourself to that person who's doing double black diamonds, or are you comparing yourself to the person who just went down the hill, right? And saying, okay, can I do this again better? And I think that there's a real value in not comparing yourself to these people who are much further away, using them as, say, as inspiration versus, I should be doing that level of success.
I'll answer your question by not answering your question probably, but I don't compare myself to anybody, ever. What I do is I chase greatness. So when Tom Brady won his 3rd championship, Joe Montana at the time was known as the greatest quarterback of all time because he had one more championship than Tom Brady. So Tom Brady wins the Super Bowl number 3, and the next day, Tom Brady is in the gym working out and watching film, literally the next day. And one of his teammates, a guy named Julian Edelman, sees him and says, bro, what are you doing? Like, you just won the Super Bowl yesterday. You're about to catch Montana, because Montana was the most decorated quarterback of all time at that time. And Tom Brady said, screw Montana, I'm going after Jordan. So to me, that's how I think. Like, I don't compare myself to anybody. There's only been one Elliott Connie, and only Elliott Connie has been through the things Elliott Connie has been through. There's no point me comparing myself to anybody. But I tend to chase greatness. So if I were to go skiing, I want to go skiing with Jeff because he's great. He's been doing it for 1,000 years. And then one day, I want to catch him. And I accept and understand that ain't going to be today. It ain't going to be tomorrow. It ain't going to be the next day. But if I stay at this, one day Jeff and I will be able to ski side by side. But I would never, at no point would I compare myself to Jeff, but Jeff inspires me. I mean, Jeff inspires me as a business person, as a human. And I have a tendency to watch the greatest. And there are things that Jeff does that I think he's the greatest at doing. And I want to be around that. Like, I want to be around those people because it helps me learn. I think people also, going back to mindset, they have to have enough ego strength to be around someone who's very successful and not be intimidated by that success. Because I know when I'm starting off, Jeff is going to do a launch and it's going to make big mountains of money and have huge impact and people are going to love it. And I have to have the ego strength to be around that. I don't have to be envious, jealous, all that negative stuff. I see it as inspiration, because if Jeff is a living, breathing human, he put on his pants the same way I did, and he drank water today, he did all the things that humans do. If I can allow Jeff to inspire me as opposed to intimidate me, then one day I might be able to have an impact on people's lives and that sort of thing. And I think in order to be inspirable, you have to have ego strength. You have to have humility. You have to just accept and understand that. So comparing myself to Jeff there's just no point in it, because we don't have the same story. But to be inspired by people, Jeff and I have a mutual friend named Bill. And I often tell Bill, I need a rabbit to chase. And that's kind of my way of saying, like, I need somebody around to inspire me in different areas of life. Like, Jeff is one of those people. Bill has been one of those people in the psychotherapy world. But that's just how my brain works. I would never compare myself to anybody else, because I understand I'm the only me and you're the only you and they're the only them. But I am easily triggered towards inspiration. It's just the way my brain works. Like, I was at an award show, a Hollywood award show the other day, and they're giving these awards. Babyface got this award, and Whoopi Goldberg got this award. And I mean, all of these people who are massively successful in the entertainment space. And some of them, I'm friends with them, fortunate enough I get to text message them and communicate with them. And the host of the award show, I was texting him after the show, like, I am incredibly inspired. I want to be on that stage one day. Now, I'm not an actor, I'm not a rapper, I'm not a singer, I'm not a dancer. But I want to influence people so much that you have to bring me on that stage and talk about mental health. And I'll see you when I get there. And if you know me, you know, do not bet against Elliott Connie. Like, I just wouldn't do it. People go broke betting against Elliott Connie. So one day, I want to be up on that stage having influenced people in the same way that you guys have influenced people through your music and through your rap and through your dance and through your acting. I want to influence people through my mental health content and through my books and through what I talk about in terms of helping people be the best version of themselves. And that's just my personality. I sat there, man, and I was looking at, there were times I was in tears looking at what I was seeing, because I could see Babyface talking about he's winning this award, was in essence kind of a lifetime achievement award. And he talked about how when he first got started, all he wanted to do was write songs for celebrities. And he's like, I can't believe I'm up here now as a celebrity. And I was like, wow, you know, I'm 46 years old. Where am I going to be 25 years from now? That's just what my brain does. I don't know how to explain it other than that's what my brain does. And I want other people to think those ways too.
Hey, Launch family, one more thing before you go. There's a few spots left in Jeff's Launch Intensive workshop. This is a live in-person training with Jeff
Dan, and Justin in the room. Only 40 people are going to be there. Small, intimate, and super, super powerful. If you'd like to check that out, all you have to do is go to getyouLaunched.com today. Thanks a lot for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.